Okay guys, so in this video I'm going to show you a basic component. We're going to make a modal, so let's get into it. So a modal is something that basically it's just a message that's shown to a user, and if you click outside of it, it goes away, and if you click inside of it, if you click outside of the modal, it should go away, and if you click inside, it's just gonna, it's still possible to click within the box or light. Some people call it a modal, some people call it a light box. You can pick whatever you prefer. And then we have this little X button here that also closes the modal. So let's have a look at it. This is a fairly standard component on the web. So the first thing we have here is some basic markup. I'll just scroll through it, so if you just want to look through the styles, you can do that as well. Like, this is everything. It's not that much code to get this working. So let's just have a look at this. So here we see now that we have this, we have the body, and then we have the button, which is the thing we saw earlier in the markup. Just the open button, and then we have the overlay. So what's the overlay? Well, the overlay is the box or the div that we place that covers the entire screen. And the reason why we want to cover the entire screen is because when we click outside of this purple area here, we want the modal to be able to close itself. But in order for us to do that, we need something to catch that click. We'll look at that JavaScript and just hopefully this will make sense to you. So the thing that I'm doing here is that I am grabbing the overlay element, and then I'm attaching an event listener to that overlay. And if the target of the event when we click is the overlay, then we simply run the close modal function, which is just going to toggle some styles on and off, or rather remove some styles. So that's all that's doing. And the reason why you want that is because you don't want to have an event listener that's listening on the entire document. That's not going to work. You want the overlay or the box that covers the screen to be the thing that the user is interacting with instead of the whole page. Because just trust me on this one, it's going to work a lot better than having an event listener that listens on the whole page. And then inside of it we have the actual modal. And the modal is just this div here. It has a header and a section, and inside of the header we have an h2 and a button that is running. We saw that function earlier, the close modal function. So if I click this, it's going to run the same thing as it's running when I'm clicking outside of the purple area. And that's all there is to it. Let's just look at the styling, or rather, let's just walk through the styles quickly. So these base styles, we don't really have to care about these all that much. Same thing with these up here. I'm just skimming through that. So as we saw earlier, the overlay is the thing that covers the whole screen. So we put that to position fixed, which puts it so it sticks to the viewport. We set it to top 0 to left 0, so it's going to be at the top left corner. And then we have these width and height attributes there, so 100% 100 view width and 100 view height, so it covers the whole viewport. And then it's going to default to display none because we don't want it to be shown to the user until the user clicks the button. Then finally we use justify content and line items, and we center that. And the reason why we do that is because when the overlay is shown, it's going to be set itself to display flex, which is going to center this purple area inside of it. And then we have the modal itself, which just is going to start off to be purple and an opacity of 0, which means that it's invisible. And the reason why we want it to be in opacity 0 is because when we run the animation, we want this nice effect where it kind of fades in. And that's what's going to happen in this little animation that we're running here. So we're going to have a slight delay and basically just run the animation forwards until, and then stay at the forwards position. So basically what's going to happen is that the animation is going to run and then it's going to stop. And the delay is 0.2 seconds, so it's not going to run immediately, it's going to run after 0.2 seconds, and then the animation is going to take 0.3 seconds. And then we have basically we have like a mirror image, which is called modal hide. I'll explain that in just a moment. So here are our keyframes, and this is the way that we simply declare our animation. So we're going to go from opacity 0 and translate 3D of 0 to opacity 1 and a translate where we have a slight offset on the y-axis. The reason why we want that is because we want as we saw earlier, we use display flex in order to center this box inside of the container in the overlay. But we wanted to we want this effect where it fades in and kind of rises a little bit, and that's where that is coming from. If I just put away this little translate offset, as you can see in the animation here, you see that it's actually jumping, because the default behavior of display flex, where we justify and we align the items to set to the center, is that it's going to be perfectly centered, but we want it to be ever so slightly offset upwards on the y-axis. Then finally we have the exact same thing in reverse, so we can show something and we can hide something. These are just the mirror images of each other. And the reason why we want that is because what we want is to, when we open the modal, we want this animation, like the showing animation, to run. But then we also want to animate away, as we want to remove the modal open class first and foremost, and then we want to add the modal hide. So we are just flipping them so that we can run the animation in the other direction. And that's why it's fading outwards and you know, basically going back to its starting state. And then once that's done, we have set, when we fire this, we simply set a little timeout of 400 milliseconds, so we're sure that the animation is going to be completed. And then we simply remove these styles or these classes from our elements. And yeah, that's the basic way of making a modal. I hope you have a great day.